So, welcome Niharika to Stuti's World, and
Thank you.
I am so glad you are part of the podcast now. I have some amazing things to ask you, which I'm sure the audience will love to know, learn a lot about you. Like I mentioned, your Instagram page is like amazing. I absolutely
Thank
love
you.
the mini trainings, and I want more people to get into that and more people to pick up
Wow.
from the knowledge that you have.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm really grateful to get this opportunity to be on your podcast. I'm really, really happy. And yeah, I'm super excited for this conversation.
Tell us, you have a master's in journalism and mass communication, and you said you started working as a sub editor. So, how did you start as a social media manager from there? What inspired you, or what provoked you to, like leave the journalism and get into this?
Okay, so basically, what happened was I always loved social media since the time I found about it, or the encounter of social media happened to me was in a very positive way. So I always found this way or this platform very interesting, also helpful to share your valuable thoughts or valuable information. That time, social media management. I'm talking about like 6, 7, or 8 years back. That time, social media management or content writing was not the thing which happened today. It is not that way back then. So I have always inclination towards writing and expressing myself or my thoughts through the words. I used to write poems, used to write essays and all that. I always found it very interesting. So I decided to do journalism because that time I really had no knowledge about other things apart from journalism. So I thought this is the best way to use my writing skills and to create a career out of it. And actually fought with my father to fought with my father in the sense he wanted me to pursue engineering. But then when he saw my writing skills and when he thought that okay, I'm actually interested into it, then he also supported me a lot to get into journalism thing, because he himself was a journalist at a time, being an engineer. So he actually motivated me to become one. Then when I was pursuing my masters of journalism and mass communication, I actually started as a trainee reporter back then only. Then at that time also, social media management was not a thing, and this I'm talking about 2014. It was it started in India, but it was not that big at that time. In just 2 years, things changed. Social media evolved very differently in India, and people started using it to its best potential. So the startup that I joined in 2016 as a sub editor, I was working for a website, a news website, as a sub editor. But that startup has so many clients who wanted to get help for their social media. And at that time, social media was new for that startup as well as for me, as well as for the other people. So we did a lot of experiments for the clients. So I was not just the sub editor, but I was social media manager for my startup's different clients as well. So I still remember, I used to write a Facebook page captions for a small kid clothing store in Pune. And we used to experiment a lot of things. And then I realized that social media has so much potential. You can reach out to the n number of people. Like, you can reach out globally to people with your services, with your work, with different kinds of things, and you can actually create career out of it. And that one thing made me realize that journalism is still a part of me. I still write news and articles for different websites. I still do that, but social media took over a major part of it. I am still a journalist, I would say, at heart, and I'm still working for different websites as they are my clients. But the potential of social media made me realize that this is the future, maybe. And from today, next 5 years, if I see, then I can see a lot of potential in this field. And right now, though, ye just starting here. It is just a starting. But coming 5-10 years, definitely there is so much to do with this new platforms like Instagram. Back then, like in 2014, 2015, jab Instagram naya tha, when Instagram was new, people used to use it just to post their family pictures and just to post their normal pics and travel pictures and all that. And after a few years, so many people turned travel photographer, or they turned out to be personal bloggers, travel bloggers, and they started earning through it.
Yes.
So social media has a lot of potential, and I feel that the way I found it, I want to help other people to find it as well. And I want to help people who really want to do something big with the social media, but they don't know how to do it. I help them through my different programs.
What is the most common mistake that you think somebody who wants to be a social media manager, so they're starting out, so what is that most common mistake you think that they're doing that is not really helping them go forward, or it's really holding them back?
Okay, so when we talk about mistakes, I feel one thing that observing others is one thing, and actually copy pasting is one thing. And in social media, it doesn't work like that. You have to observe others to gain knowledge, to understand a few things, but you actually cannot copy paste their strategies to your own, because in Instagram also, every other account's algorithms works differently. So you cannot copy paste other strategies and apply it to yours or your clients. So if one hashtag strategy is working out for others, it may not work out for you or for your clients. So you need to understand the fact that your client's profile or your profile is unique, and you have to try and test a lot of things initially, and then only you can find out a correct way to grow your social media or to reach out to many people. So the social media managers, I saw, or even I can see that in some of my students as well, I always tell them that it's great if you want to become a social media manager, but you need to understand the fact that it is not an overnight success. You cannot go viral in one day. You need to practice a lot of strategies on your account. If one thing is not working out, you need to find out the other way. There should be always plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. You cannot go with one plan. If one thing is not working out, if you see my profile, when I started out back in 2020 June, I had only 300-400 followers. I don't even remember. And now I have 1400 followers over the last 7-8 months. And if you go back to the post, you will see that I have tried a lot of things for my Instagram. It's not like that I just grabbed one strategy and I went ahead with it. It is not like that. I have done experiments with it. So you need to do a lot of experiments with that account. Also, content is the king. So just because one person is writing a content in a way doesn't mean that you also have to write that content in a similar way. You have to have your own voice into the caption writing that you're doing. Then understanding a few things like how caption writing works, how copywriting works. This is the one thing that really matters. Ki Facebook ka caption writing is different and Instagram's caption writing is different because audience is different. So you need to understand one thing, that every other platform is different. What many of social media managers do is that they apply same strategies for each and every platform, which cannot work. So Instagram has a completely different set of audience. The age group is different. Facebook has a different audience. Twitter has completely different audience. So you need to understand which platform will work for your client or for yourself. Which platform is your ideal platform? Which audience is your ideal audience? Who are your targeted audience? What is your why? Why are you writing this content? So you need to understand all these things, and then only you can form a strategy. Utilize that strategy. If that is not working out, you need to find another strategy, and initially you have to do a lot of experiments. Only then you can find a way some way when you can go ahead with it and you will see the results. You cannot see the results in one night. That's for sure. I want to tell all the social media managers.
Exactly. And also the social media, it keeps updating, things keep changing, new features are rolled out. So even after, while you're trying out new different things, new things are coming out. So it's like a constant learning process. It's
True.
never ending. You constantly learn, you constantly apply new things, and get that done. That is such a beautiful message that you gave just now for the new ones. Now, when you coach people, because you're into coaching, I want you to ask, when you coach people, people come with different mentalities and different thought processes, right? So usually they have kind of these mental blocks that hold them, which prevent them from actually even just trying what they want to do, even just giving a go. I mean, what have they got to lose? But they're not even willing to try. So what do you think are some of the common mental blocks like that women have, and how do you think they can overcome? At least give one or two of those common ones.
Okay. So I see a common 2-3 things that actually hold women back. First thing, many people or many women who come to me and we have a conversation, I feel that they are camera shy, and they don't want to come in front of camera. They don't want to show up and talk to the camera, and they feel that if they do so, what other people will think, or what will they say, that she's doing show off, or she's showing off what she's doing and all that stuff. First of all, I want to tell others that nowadays social media works on videos, also video audio format, because as you have podcast, okay, people love to listen to it, but you need to come, show up, talk about it. Even for that podcast, you need to maintain your social media, or you need to create a personal brand for yourself, right? For that also you need to show up, you need to come, and you need to talk about what you are offering, even if it is in audio format or it is in video format. You need to come and talk about it. I feel that some women are shy, that they do not come forward and they don't want to talk about what they are offering. And for all these people, I want to tell that this is not a show off. This is not something that you are just doing for the sake of showing off that, see, I'm doing this. It is not for that. It is something you're talking about your work, because on online business or on social media, only that works. When you will talk about your work, only then people will get to know about it. So you have to come. For Instagram, I always say that you have to come on your stories and talk about what you do. Otherwise, people will not get to know that what you're doing. How you can expect that other people will come to your profile for your work when you are not talking about it? So the shyness that holds them back, they do not come forward and talk about it. First thing. Second thing is that, again, log kya kahenge wala thing is still there in the mindset of many people. Because the online business concept is so new, even now also. It has started in India a few years back, but now also women starting their online business from home, they are recording their modules or they are recording their videos. Still, it is not considered a normal way of earning or a normal way of career option. इसको आज भी नहीं माना जाता. People do not take it as a legit career option. So I really want to tell these women that don't think about what others are thinking. Because ultimately you're the boss of your own life, and if you want to be financially independent, if you want to be independent and be on your own feet, you have to choose the different options that online business is offering. Not necessarily you have to create YouTube videos. You can create different things. You can start content writing, you can start social media management, you can start the way you have started your podcast.
Yes.
Or the way the other people are using Instagram for their business. If you're good at art, then show people that what you do. Tell people that you're good at art and you take orders for the customized gift options. Right? we all have different kinds of talent, but just we don't know how to set the hobby apart and use that talent as the potential career option. So many people are shy about it. Many women are shy about it, and they still think that what people will think or what others will think. Many are not confident enough because of the background of their homes, or because of the, as we say, the patriarchy. This is cliche, I know, but it is still there. Okay, they are not confident enough because they have been told that if you want to pursue a career, you have to do this. Conventional options. They have been told. They have been told the conventional options that get your master's done, get a job, do a job, get married, be settled. Even if after a marriage you want to do a job, there are a lot of options and you can do those jobs as well. But if a woman want to set aside those options and create her own option, then she needs to fight a lot of battles at her home itself. So it happens with a lot of people. One of my student is a single parent, and she is facing a lot of challenges at her point as well. But she is doing really great, and she came out of that zone that what other people will think. If I will come on these stories after all the things that happened, what other people will think. And when we had this session, I always have one session in my even group coaching program or a one-on-one coaching program, that is mindset setup section. In that session, and that is the first session that I take of these students, you need to set your mindset for the business. And when we talk about mindset, we discuss about all the limiting beliefs that are holding them back. We discuss about all the different issues that they are facing, and then we try to get a solution for them. And on that class, she discussed everything with me, and I told her to try out a few things. And she started her YouTube channel, and now she's getting on Reels, and she actually came out of that zone, and that made me so happy. Because she can do so much, just that one limiting belief was holding her back. So yeah, you said it correctly that there are a few mindset blocks that holds back these women. But I'm sure if they discuss about these things to their mentors, to their coaches, or to the correct person, they can definitely come out of it, and they can do so much more than they think.
Yeah, exactly, Niharika. It's also that, we are brought up with such conventional ways of thinking that we need to learn to unlearn all those things and adapt to the new things. And I also think that the best part of as of now is there are a lot of women who are willing to help other women become better. It was not so a few years ago, but as of now, a lot of women, they want to help other women. So the jealousy kind of a thing that you don't want the other one to do better, all that, it's diminished a lot, and so many people they just want to help other women become better. And I think it's the best time that we are actually living in just because of that.
That's true. That's so true. Even I am seeing this, that right now these women are actually helping other women to get clients. Even if, and what happens is now we are into this community, or we are into this online business section where there are huge opportunities. So the number of people who are providing services, the number of clients are equally on a bigger number. Right. So it is not like कि अगर मुझे नहीं मिलेगा तो मतलब सामने वाले को नहीं मिलेगा तो मुझे मिलना चाहिए. It is not like that. So people are actually, especially women, are actually helping other women. I'm seeing these examples like Saloni Srivastava, Tejal Chopra. They are actually co-working on a few things, and they are inviting each others on their courses to give a session and all that stuff. That is so inspiring.
Yes.
That is so inspiring.
True, exactly. And you are also doing the same thing. You are creating group coaching programs for women, and then you are creating a community. So it's not just you have a group of other people also, and each one can look after one another and motivate one another. So that is also an extremely powerful thing that I absolutely love about what is happening right now in the virtual world. That is one of the best things that is happening.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, so Niharika, you are managing multiple clients and you have your one-on-one sessions and then you have your group sessions. Okay, how do you manage your entire workday and yet be so radiant towards the end of the day and not like feel overwhelmed or exhausted?
Okay, I really love this question. So, first of all, the one thing that keeps me going or makes me energetic every day is I love my work. I love what I do. I do not feel it as a work. I always get pumped up and excited in the morning that I have to do all these things. Today I have these many calls. Today I have to attend these many meetings. I have to plan the content and all that stuff. This content planning, content creating process is so therapeutic for me. So one thing is that I genuinely love what I do. That's what helps me keep me going basically. And second thing that is really helping me out is at time blocking and planning my day ahead. I plan my day maybe in the morning or one day back. One day prior. So if I have to plan something for tomorrow, I'll do that at the night tonight. So I do my planning process like that. Also, one thing I make sure is whenever there are my high energetic hours or whenever my energy is super high, I utilize those hours to its best. I create tons of content and I just sit down. I do the deep work session. I just keep my phone aside for that time. I just keep all the distractions aside that time, and I just sit and I do the deep work session. In that time, I create content for my Instagram. I just write the captions. I create presentations for my coaching programs or content for the client, or write blogs. If something is there in my mind, I just write blogs in advance so that I can use it for my clients or for myself as well. So I utilize my high energy hours to its best. That usually people tell that you should be good at time management. I feel you should be good at energy management. So if your energy is high, you just utilize those hours. Don't think about the other things and do your maximum work at that time. And when are your low energy hours, use those hours to engage into your community, to reply to the comments, to reply to the DMs, or to do the small chunks of work, or to do the work which is not that super important, but still you have to do it. So do that work when you have the low energy hours. I try to maintain, or I try to manage my energy rather than my time. So that is working out for me.
Yeah, I think that is such a beautiful lesson that you gave out there, because time, we are not always we do not always feel the same way at all times. Like you said,
Exactly.
energy is not exactly the same, but I think listening to ourselves, our body, our mind, and utilizing our mind depending on what we want to do, depending on the energy level, I think that is way better than the time management. That expression, energy management, is an eye opener for this podcast, I'm sure.
Thank you so much.
Because you mentioned, can you elaborate a little about deep work session?
Yeah. So the deep work session is a process of working where you don't allow any other thing to distract you, and you are deep dived into your work. So I do it when I have, as I said, I have the high energy hours. When my mind is fully charged up to do the work, I complete all the house chores and all the things. I just keep it like done and dusted, and then I sit down. I do not allow any other thing, any other distraction to distract me or to stop me from doing my work. Maybe it is a 1 hour session, maybe it is a 2 hour session. Till the time my mind is super active and not getting distracted, I use those hours to do this deep work session, where I will sit down. I will maybe journal, write down everything, every single thing that is there in my mind. Maybe these are the content ideas, maybe these are the things that I have to do in the next week or the coming days, maybe these are the things that I have to include in my coaching program or the the presentations that I use for coaching program. Maybe I have these are the things that I have to create a resource material for, like email templates or cheat sheets or like checklists and all that. So I do that. I write down each and everything. Other than that, I create content in that deep work session, like Canva creations, and write down the captions for my Instagram. So I usually create entire month's content. I have a clear idea in my mind how many posts I want to produce for this month. In those posts, how many will be the reels, how many will be the static posts, and how many will be the carousels, how many will be the infographics. I just list down that, and accordingly, in 4 hours or 2 days, you can say so, I create entire month's content. I just create it, I write down the caption, and I schedule it on the Creator Studio. So for 1 month, my half of mind or my half of energy is tension free. Like, I have to create content for Instagram. This should not be a burden for you. If you're a content creator, this should not be a burden for you. So I do that priorly. And for client work, when I have to do a deep client work, then I use these hours for the client work as well. So I write down blogs or I write down whatever client work is there. I do this deep work session for client work as well. So this is the session where you're deep dived into the work, and nothing can distract you for those 2 hours.
Great. So usually, how long does it take for you to create Instagram content for 1 month?
So it takes, like, as I said, if I have the ideas in my mind. So what I do, that I do this ideation process for like half an hour or 1 hour, where I write down each and every idea that is there in my mind. So I write down it on on the piece of paper, and then I count it, that how many ideas are there. If I have to come with more ideas, then I think about it and write it down. So this ideation process usually takes like half an hour or 1 hour for me, not more than that. And जब आपका idea आपके दिमाग में clear होता है ना, तो content create करने के लिए time नहीं लगता. So it doesn't take much time. So whenever these ideas comes in my mind, I can actually picturize it how they are going to look on my feed. Accordingly, I create it on Canva. I have set of templates. I will not say templates, but my own created graphics are there, and I just keep on adding pages to it and keep on creating the graphics for it. So the entire process, from doing the ideation process to the hashtag research to actually posting it or scheduling it, it takes 4 to 5 hours. I do it in 2 to 3 days in 1 month. So I take out like 2 hours each day for like 2 days or 3 days, and then I create the entire content, schedule it, and just after that also, if agar aisa hota hai ki if in a month I feel that no, this should also be added or this reel has to go, then I go to Creator Studio and adjust the dates. If I am posting something impromptu, or if I am doing something impromptu, then I adjust it on the Creator Studio, because wo to future mein planned hai already. So I adjust it accordingly. But as you can see, it's like 4 to 6 hours, not more than that.
That is great. That is such a efficient way to create content, and then you're completely sorted for the month, and you can actually focus on other things for the entire month. Otherwise,
exactly. That used to happen with me a few months back. That used to happen with me, that I used to nahi ye post karna hai, no, I have to post this, or then sometimes some impromptu things comes in my mind, and I used to like post it then and there only. Then I used to say that oh my god, the aesthetics to bigad gaye apne, jo flow hai wo to kharab ho gaya. Now what I will do? Then I sat down one day and I realized that if I plan everything according to the way I want it to be, then it will work out for me. And I just tried it for once, because I've heard about it from a longer time, but I couldn't do it. But one day I actually sat and I thought, karke dekhte hain. And I did it for the month of February, and it worked out. Then I again did it for the month of March, and it worked out. And right now also I'm doing it for April, and half of the April is already covered, and within the 2 days the entire April will cover. So this is working out for me. So I feel that I genuinely feel that this is super easy process for me. Now I'm used to it.
That is great. Like I said, it's a very effective way of putting out content on Instagram. Niharika, do you love reading books? Are you fond of books?
Huh. Yes, I really like, but honestly, in last few years, I would say so. My book reading habit has gone down, and now I really want to get back to it. So from this January, I have started reading books again, like one book 1 month. I have started doing that, and I am right now quite enjoying it. But right now,
which
I am.
book are you reading now?
So basically, I'm reading Sudha Murthy's books because I'm really fond of her writing. So recently, I have completed her 3000 Stitches. And before that, in January, when I got COVID positive, I had a lot of time. At that time, I was reading, like, I really loved reading Sherlock Holmes. So I was reading Sherlock Holmes at that time.
So which is the one book that, because you used to read before, which is the one book that has actually inspired you, and you want to share it and recommend everyone to read that?
There are a lot many books, but again I will say Sudha Murthy's, because I read all Sudha Murthy's books in translated form in Marathi, because my major reading was in Marathi, because Marathi is my mother tongue. So Sudha Murthy's, now I need to find out the English name for it. I really need to do that. But Goshti Mansancha was the Marathi book of Sudha Murthy that I read, and I feel Sudha Murthy's all books are so inspiring. All the real life experiences that she shared through her books are something that every woman should read. Every woman, and I repeat, every woman, because the way she has come from a different background.
Yes.
And the way she and Mr. Narayan Murthy created this Infosys. It's something huge. And every other woman who want to start something of her own, or who want to be more independent and more confident, she should learn from her. Every woman. Because the way there are even the 3000 Stitches, every woman should read this. The way she has explained a few things, that right now also English language or the materialistic things or the show-off culture that we have, the elite culture kind of that we have in our society, it is something very superficial. And the way even our future generation is also inclined towards it. It is something that should not happen, and we, being the women, can definitely stop it by changing our mindset. So that is something I learned from it, and I want to tell each and everyone that you must read her experiences, her real life experiences. That will definitely inspire you a lot. Also, Not Without My Daughter is one book that I really love. I read it twice, and every time I got goosebumps. It is a story of a mother who fought for her daughter and who took her daughter from Iran to America, and that journey, that how she rescued her daughter and came out of that situation. That is something that is very inspiring.
Those are lovely book recommendations, Niharika. I also look up to Sudha Murthy. I love her, simplistic life, and the way she speaks also is very straightforward. And I absolutely love watching all her interviews. I have read few of her children's books that she has written also.
Yes.
And I also find
my favorite author.
Yeah, I find her really cute and simple, the way she laughs, and her eyes also kind of light up when she laughs, and she's very straightforward.
And one thing that I loved about her is you can be beautiful, smart, confident, and you can look so professional with that sari and that bun and that bindi on your face. You need not to follow the Western countries, and you need not to follow the others to look professional or smart.
Yeah.
That is something, the definition of beauty, the smartness, and the professionalism, or the definitions of all these things are completely different than what it looks like.
Yes.
In her that 3000 Stitches Only, she wrote a story about her experience when two women called her kettle class.
Yes, I've heard
And
about that.
you have heard about that, right?
Yeah.
So people should read that to understand that when you judge people, you need to understand that from where they're coming from and who are they actually. We
Yes.
judge people very normally, very openly. We don't know the background of them, and we just pass comments. And then what happened with these two women, you can read that in that book. So that is something that inspired me a lot.
Yes.
I actually look up to her.
Yeah, she also mentions about how she bought a pair of earrings, stone earrings, in the market in Mumbai for ₹50, and she still wears the same set of earrings, and
Yeah.
that is the only set of earrings that she kind of owns, and she wears all the time. And and she also spoke in one of the interviews about how they live in a 2-bedroom house. Since ages,
Yes.
even after Infosys boomed, and even after doing so well, they're still living in that house because that is enough for them. It's just the two of
Exactly,
them,
and
more than enough for them.
exactly, and nowadays these materialistic things and the dream of like people's dream life looks like super luxurious, but on the contrary, it has to be super simple and super comfortable.
Yes.
So these two things, these are a few things that I love about Sudha Murty. That's why I love her all books. So not just a few books, I will recommend that. Read all her books, whatever she writes. Please read that.
Yeah. Now you are also a content writer in other languages. I think in 2 other languages.
Yes.
Yes, right? Marathi.
I write in 3 languages.
English, Marathi, and one more.
Hindi.
Hindi. Okay, yeah. So I remember seeing that on your Instagram. So how is the customer base in other languages different from that of the customer base who wants content writing in English?
Okay, so first of all, I want to tell one thing, that I am not from English medium background. I did all my studies in Hindi medium till 12th. After that, my graduation was in English medium because I had no choice at that time, and I deliberately did my masters in journalism and mass communication in Marathi language so that I could learn the Marathi in a proper way, because Marathi was my mother tongue, but being in Madhya Pradesh, I never learned Marathi as a subject. And I really wanted to learn because inclination towards languages was there in me from a very long time. So I now also listen to so many different songs in other languages. So languages is something that I really love. In India nowadays also, English language is termed as a certificate for your class. It is termed as a certificate for your intelligence, and which is completely wrong. Nowadays, platforms like Republic Bharat, or even Republic platform, or even the government platforms, are working in like so many languages.
Yes.
I can't even count.
Yes.
So there are huge opportunities in other languages as well. If we say so, yes, there was a payment difference before also, but if you have experience, you can charge according to your experience and according to your knowledge. So initially, it was when I was working at a Marathi newspaper, I could see the difference, the payment difference between, for similar, a person who is reporting for the education sector in Marathi newspaper, and a person who is reporting for the same education sector in English Reporter, the payment scale was completely different. So that's why people used to level up their English skills and used to find out the opportunities in English language. It used to happen earlier. At some extent, it is happening nowadays as well. But when this online platform came in limelight, and these websites started coming out, and these websites gaining so many different kinds of ads and everything, then this gap started like bridging down, like this gap was started coming down. So at that time I realized right now I'm working for a portal called Figurenaut.online. I am working as a freelance content head for them, and this website works in like multilingual base. So we write content for it in Hindi, Marathi, English, all. Right. Then I am writing political content for a website which is in Marathi language. And I write different social media posts and captions and all that for a client in English language. So I work in 3 of the languages. And if you have skills, language skills, if you have experience, then you can definitely earn what you actually deserve. But for that, I started from 1,500 rupees per month as a trainee reporter. I started from that low. When I was a trainee reporter, I used to get 1,500 rupees mahina, which is nothing today if we see so. But at that time I was student and there was not like my needs were not that much, and I was happy with that because I was gaining experience.
Yes.
On basis of that experience, I got a job directly as a sub-editor, not even as a reporter. Directly as a sub-editor to a startup on a good pay. And with that experience, I could start my freelance journey, and I could show that thing, show those articles and the videos and all that stuff that I did for my different client and for my company. I could get the work in the different 3 languages. So it is something that is in you. You have to level up your skills. If you are good at other languages, definitely try out, find out opportunities. There are opportunities. There are n number of opportunities. So many websites are coming in regional languages. If you see so, then ScoopWhoop, a leading website, is in Hindi language.
Yes.
Lellantop is a website which has a huge reader base and they are hiring people. Republic has a huge reader base and they are coming in different regional languages like Marathi, Hindi, Bangla, Gujarati, Punjabi. There is this ETV used to, if you remember, ETV was the Hyderabad-based ETV. They have their different websites, news websites, which are in different languages.
Yes.
Then there are these publications who offer the translation services. They want to their books should get translated in different languages. Like Sudha Murthy's books are in Marathi languages.
Yes.
There is a person who translated them, okay? And translation industry is growing super fast. Also, in translation industry, there are chances where you can earn higher than the content writing, and then because translation, the charges for the translation are higher than the writing actual content. And I'm actually working with a PR company situated in Pune for the translation services only. So I am doing a variety of work because the languages are offering me variety of work. Right? So people think that there is not that kind of work in these languages, or you cannot earn the amount that you can earn in the English language. It is not true. It is not true. I can say so because I am working in these languages. So if you are good at your skills, if you can level up your skills, and if you can really find out these opportunities, the thing is, if you are a freelancer, हाथ पैर आपको मारने पड़ेंगे. You have to fight for yourself. Nobody will come to you and give you a chandi ka chammach and will say this is for you. Nobody will do that. You need to find opportunities by yourself. You need to network with people. So if you want to work in different languages, there is a website called Momspresso, which is working in n number of languages. Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Bengali. There are so many languages there that they are working in. I told you 3-4 websites name like SA. Popexo is a website which is very popular in young women or teenagers, which is in different languages. And they actually hire people time to time. So just you need to keep an eye on all these hirings. There are so many social media accounts which like Newsj is one account. Newj is one account which is available in different languages, so they need copywriters for their social media management thing, or for their social media accounts, who can write good copies in different languages. Actually, there are so many opportunities in government sector as well.
Yes.
I have worked with Khadi. Khadi is a brand, right? I have worked with them for like 2 to 3 months for their one project. And you can definitely find different opportunities if you're actually good at these language skills. So it is you who has to work on your skills, and who should find opportunities. There are opportunities working for you. If you are the right one, you can definitely grab it, and you can earn that opportunity. And you will get paid according to your skill set.
Yeah, exactly. That is such a beautiful message, Niharika. A lot of people, I understand they're not very comfortable, they're not very fluent in English, and then they try to learn because they have the skills, they have the copywriting skills, and they have the content writing skills, but they hesitate. But like you said, there are a lot of websites that are coming out which offer in multiple languages. With just a click of a button, the entire linguistic of the website changes to that language. So from the the sub logo to the headings to the content, everything comes in different languages. So I think that's a really great message for somebody who is perfect in their own local language to utilize the skill. And I also think the demand is higher for local languages compared to English, because a lot of people are offering services in English, but the number of people offering in that particular local regional language would be quite less. So in terms of what you said, like how in the newspaper industry the price range was different, I think it is going to be different, but this time the regional writers will have more pay.
More weightage. Yeah. So, and you can, even I make mistakes in English now also. I don't know if I made mistakes in this conversation itself, but I'm not ashamed of it, because English is not my language, and I should not be ashamed of it. Go out in the other countries. Can people speak our regional languages? Definitely no.
Yes, exactly.
Do we make fun of them? No, because we understand it is not their language and they are fluent in their language. Mm-hmm. Then why to be ashamed of your English? It's okay if it is not that high. Even if it is kaam chalao, you're good to go.
Yes, exactly. Of course. Of course.
You should not be ashamed of your English language skills. It's completely fine. It is not your language.
Yes, exactly. Completely true. It's just the hype that is kind of being created. Sure. And so tell me, Niharika, you have had many clients. So did you come across any difficult client in terms of payments to you, or maybe in terms of work burden or unexpected work expectations? Did you come across any client like that?
Yes, because I feel that every other freelancer come across such clients.
How did you tackle
you cannot run after it. So there was one client for whom I was managing their Facebook page, and actually they were not doing anything from their side. I used to do everything, but they were not even sharing their post on their social media sharing from their social media platforms. So I used to do a lot of efforts, but results were not that which I was expecting. And suddenly that person stopped paying me, and it was not a small amount. It was like 10,000 per month, kind of an amount. And I was working very hard for them. Even at that time, I was getting married. So before these marriage rituals were starting, I completed all their entire work for the next month, so that they will not feel something that their work is stopped. So I did everything, and that lady didn't pay me. Even after sharing the screenshots of our contract and everything, she was not ready to pay. Then one fine day she replied me and she said, I paid you like 60% of amount, and I don't think it is going well, and I don't think the results are correct. Then I'm not able to pay. Then I told her that I actually mentioned it in my previous emails itself, that if you don't pay me full amount, I have the rights to delete your Facebook page. because I am I have created that. The entire mehnat was mine for your Facebook page, and if you will not pay me the amount, then you have to bear the cost of it. I can delete your Facebook page. And she agreed to it.
Okay.
So, and that was so frustrating for me that, yeah, you're not paying me. I'm ready to delete your Facebook. Still, you're not going to pay me. So I didn't delete it, but I just what you can say, for the 3-4 months, I just hide that page, and that page was hidden from the Facebook for 3 to 4 months, and I lost my 4-5 thousand, and I felt that okay, Jig se zyada acha hai, I will work with some other client, but she didn't pay me. That happened with me once, but that was the only case that happened for the like payment thing. Other than that, expectations and different kinds of things, that happens with everybody. It's just that you need to learn to say no. You need to set your boundaries. You need to tell your clients that what is your scope of work very clearly. You need to tell them what you can do and what you can't do, what is not under your scope of work. You need to tell them clearly through your emails. So I teach this thing in my mentorship program as well, how to approach a client, what are the emails that you should write when you're approaching, after the discovery call, and when you're finalizing the client, so that everything should be crystal clear in your email, so that if something happens tomorrow, you will be able to show that this is what we have talked about and I'm not able to do these things. Because if you say yes to one thing which is not under your scope of work, they will give you 10 other things to do it, because they need to get their work done.
Yes, exactly.
And if you say yes to everything, you'll not be able to set apart yourself from all these things. So learn to say no is one thing that I'm still working on. I can't say no. So that is one thing that I'm still working on. And secondly, yes, set your boundaries and tell your clients your clear scope of work. That works the best.
Exactly. That is such a powerful message, Niharika, to set boundaries and to say clear scope of work, because I think when you have something written down and when you have said this is exactly what is going to happen in this specific timeline, so both of them are in safe spots.
True.
They can easily validate your work, you can easily get your work done, and you can show it all. So Niharika, tell me, being a journalist and in mass communication, because that is about, journalism is actually about speaking to the masses, and social media is also the same thing. So how has your education in journalism benefited you as a social media manager?
It benefited a lot. First of all, fact checking is one thing that is super important in social media, because your one wrong post can destroy the harmony and the shanti of your society. And we have seen this in Delhi riots, or we have seen this in many incidents, that one wrong message, one forwarded fake message could destroy the lives. So when you are writing captions for your clients, or when you're writing blogs for your clients, research work and fact checking is one thing that you must do, and journalism is based on that. Nowadays we can't see so in some channels, but that is a different thing. But the authentic actual journalism actually taught us, the whole curriculum of 2 years actually taught us that how research works in your writings, or in your videos, or in your any kind of way that you present yourself on social media, be it written, be it audio, be it video. The research thing and the fact checking thing it has to be there. So that thing really helped me. Sometimes the other content writers struggle with research things because they are good at writing, but research part is something that they need to learn. We learned that in our journalism, so that was not a hurdle for me at that time. Even now also, I am habitual to checking 10 things and then coming coming up with a
Right.
piece of news. So that is something that helped me. Also, when I was working as a sub editor, at that time I was not only writing the news for the website, but we were doing so many things because I was in a startup. And there was only like 6 logo ka team, 6 people's team was there, and we 6 people used to get charged up with so many ideas, and we were free to experiment those ideas. So we did dance videos, we did different kinds of Diwali videos. Sandesh to Soldier was a video that we did, and it was a massive hit at that time. We did so many different things which helped me to come in front of the camera, to write captions for different social media accounts, to reach out to many people, to use these different platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and all those stuff. So before jumping into this content writing thing or social media management thing, I actually I was using all these platforms. So this was not something new for me, because being a journalist, I was already doing all those things. So I was not just one journalist who used to write for a paper or who used to write for a website. I used to do a number of different things as well. For example, I used to write morning audio bulletins, like जो हम इस पे सुनते हैं ना, नॉट विविध भारती, तो आकाशवाणी पे जो हम सुनते हैं ना ऑडियो बुलेटिन्स, in that format I used to write bulletins, I used to write the script for bulletin, I used to record the bulletins, I used to edit the bulletins, and I used to post it. So from the writing part to the posting part, everything was done by me, and the second shift mein one more girl used to do that. So we learned so many different things in that one job, be it audio, be it video, be it short form news content, be it long form blog contents, be it social media management, be it content writing. We did everything. So that taught me so many things that it helped me to start my own journey.
That is a wonderful thing, Niharika, to have your education to actually, come out and now help you being a social media manager, because usually most of them they have studied something and then now they're social media managers and managing things online and virtual assistants, but their education has not really been of that much use in this virtual world, in the jobs that they have taken up. But yours has kind of provided such a beautiful foundation for your social media journey. Niharika, it has been like wonderful chatting with you. We had such a long chat for about an hour, and give so many insights, so many beautiful things, so many breakthroughs that we spoke about, and I'm sure the audience is going to love this podcast for the amazing things that you have spoken and shared, and you give that such a positive vibe and confident vibe that you have shared. I'm sure a lot of women are going to be inspired by this.
Thank you so much, Stuti. It was amazing to talk to you, and I had a great time chatting with you, and this was a memorable talk. I really loved it. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really grateful.